Hey everyone, History Mystery Man here, coming to you today from East Palestine, Ohio, site of the toxic train derailment back on February 3rd. It's a lovely little town, absolutely gorgeous. Population just under 5,000. It was originally founded in 1828 as Mechanicsburg and then incorporated as a village, the village of East Palestine, in 1875. So this place and its inhabitants, its people, are deeply rooted in America, in American culture. The people here are wonderful. The town is wonderful. We're going to talk to some of the business owners today to see how they're doing, how they're holding up. One specific business, you're going to love it, the 1820 Candle Company. Got some great stories with it. We're just going to get the overall temperature on this place. It's a beautiful day in East Palestine, Ohio. History Mystery Man here on duty and at your service. Let's go see what's inside. Coming into East Palestine, it's a pretty little community. Hills all around. It's really quite nice. There are some beautiful homes that line the main drag here. Really nice. In through here, coming down the hill into the downtown area of East Palestine. That's an old Victorian beauty. Sweet. Ooh, really nice library. East Palestine Memorial Public Library, post office, historic building. I think built in 1937. Yeah, something like that. Don't hold me to the fire. Here's the train tracks that carried the Norfolk Southern train that went off the rails. And you can see, looking down the tracks, the site of the wreckage is just down the way, about I don't know, half mile or so. I mean, it's right in town. And it really is a super nice community. Looking at East Palestine going the other way here on the main drag. Gives you a little better view, not staring right into the sunlight. I'm all for East Palestine and its continued success going down the road. It's wonderful to come here and spend a day here and meet the people on a beautiful day in a beautiful little small town. I'm all about small town America, and I'm all about East Palestine. But these train tracks right here change this place forever. So how is the candle making business? You say you do it all right here? You make them here?
Yes, we make them all right here.
Wow, that's neat.
She ships an unbelievable amount of candles.
Ship all
New
across the
York
country.
City.
Do you really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Wow, I mean, this sleepy little town, and all of a sudden you're the center of the universe for national news. I mean,
It's not something you would ever think about happening.
yeah.
It's, you know, my fiance, he said, there's things like you can think of or prepare for, and that's not one of them.
That's not one of them. You mentioned earlier about a home built back in 1820. How is that associated with this business?
So initially, it was the homestead to a previous family, and then about in, I think, 1908, our family acquired the home, and it's been in our family ever since. My mom, the owner, Melissa, she was raised there as a child, and then later came back with my dad, and then raised my brothers and I there. Still currently live there.
So you grew up in an 1820 built
I
farmhouse.
did, yeah.
Well, how cool is that?
It's historic.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. No other friends of mine have a home like that.
No, there's not
No.
too many people anywhere that have a home built in 1820.
No.
Maybe later 1800s, but 1820 is on the rare side.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it shows. I mean, but my dad has put in so much work to keep it beautiful.
Yeah, I'll bet. And it's here in East Palestine?
Yes.
Yeah. So the official name of the business is,
1820 Candle Co.
which comes from the home you grew up in that was
Yes.
built in 1820 here in East Palestine.
Yes.
That's really a cool story. Do the locals want to do business locally rather than ship off to Walmart or something? I assume people who live here want to help each other.
Yeah, I mean, there are a few people that are shying away from being in town right now, which there's a few that have children and
Sure.
they live close to that, and that's completely understandable. But for the people remaining in town, I think they're doing their part and trying to help
each other,
everybody in the best way they can.
How's your health? Did you feel any repercussions from the derailment, headaches, anything at all? Did you feel anything?
I mean, honestly, not really.
Yeah.
I did have a few times where I felt dizzy, but
Sure.
it was only for like a minute or two.
That might have been anxiety
Right,
from
and
what just happened.
and that's what I was
That'd be me.
thinking, because like at the time I would be thinking about what
Sure.
has happened or watching the news, and it's hard to escape it. You know, other than that, I feel fine, and I'd like to remain in my community.
Sure, I'll bet. It's a pretty little community. And you did say that the CEO of Norfolk Southern did come into your business.
He did.
And address you personally?
Yeah, he addressed me, my mother, all the employees that work here, and listened to our concerns and what we thought would be beneficial in helping the community, and what he should address to maybe help people feel more at ease. And then he supported us and bought lots of candles, and he was then moving on to other businesses to try and help them as well.
You feel like they're going to hang with you through the long haul? I mean, there could be repercussions years down the road. We don't know yet.
I keep saying I would rather be optimistic than pessimistic. I want to think that they're going to stick with it and see it through. Definitely still keep cautious of what's going on,
Sure.
but I have a feeling that they're going to stick to what they say.
Yeah. Well, I certainly hope so. I'm glad you're doing well. I'm glad your business is doing well, because a lot of people did leave town.
Yes.
In fact, when it happened, what initially did you do? Did you leave town right away, or?
So when it had happened, we didn't know exactly what was going on. We just saw big orange flames in the sky. And then we found out through the news that a train had derailed. They don't know what's on it. We had about 68 counties come in and help take care of the fire. But within an hour of it happening, we had the sheriff's department come down and tell us we need to evacuate. We stayed about 2 miles out of town for the first 2 days. And then once it turned into a catastrophic event, we moved further out of town into Latonia, which is about 10 miles from here, and stayed with her.
How long were you away? And when?
In total, it was probably 6 days.
Okay.
7 days almost.
Yeah, so East Palestine is the bullseye for this thing, but there's a lot of neighboring communities that would
Yes.
feel the effects just the same way.
Yes.
That aren't necessarily getting the attention.
No.
You did say that you make all your candles here.
Yes.
In the back room, hand poured.
Yes.
Is that a lengthy process? I gotta believe it is.
It is.
I was gonna ask you to show me that, but that's not
Yeah.
something we can do in
No,
16 seconds, right?
Yeah, it takes a while. It's like
Okay.
gotta let the wax cool and then pour it, and then you gotta wait for them to set,
Yeah.
and then you can label. It's a process. That's why sometimes it takes longer to get orders out, but
Sure.
it's worth it.
I'm so glad the country has stepped up to help support you online and
Us too.
everywhere else. That's a cool story in itself. So
Yes.
thanks for your time today. I really,
thank
really
you.
appreciate you. What's your dog's name, by the way?
Lulu.
Lulu?
Yeah, she's
Okay.
our little
She's a
shop
she.
dog.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have to run for my life, do I?
No.
Okay. Lulu.
No, she's usually pretty friendly.
Lulu. Hey, buddy. Girly. Hi, Lulu. She's guarding the front window.
Oh, she's our little alarm.
Here on Taggart Street, which leads right to the site of the wreckage, you have to really feel for the residents here. They are very near ground zero. And now you have your road closure signs, so you can only get so close. But I really feel for these people who live here. I mean, they are right on top of the site. They didn't ask for it, but they got it. Businesses down here, residential homes. Yeah, road closed. Yep, and there's a guy standing. He won't let me go any farther. There's a guy standing up there. But just beyond him, and beyond that blue industrial building, just behind is the site of the train derailment. But this is where it happened. My God, can you imagine living here and how devastating that would be to these tiny little homes and families who call East Palestine home sweet home. And You said there are misconceptions in town. What are we
Yeah,
talking?
they think it's going to be really smelly and it's like super toxic. And we live here. We live within the evacuation zone. Our farm is within the zone, and our business is. It was smelly the first week we came back. We had our air quality tested. We've had our ventilation thoroughly cleaned. We've done all the steps that we can to ensure safety for our business, and so customers can feel comfortable coming in. But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that the soil isn't unsafe, because obviously it is unsafe.
Yeah, I'm not going to like plant daisies and take them home or anything.
Yeah,
so.
and the creek is definitely, the Sulphur Run and Leslie Run are definitely still contaminated. And so yeah, you don't want to let your kids go play in it.
Sure.
But the process is happening. They're cleaning it up. We're hoping they're going to be accountable and do it the way they said they're going to do.
Sure.
We've been told they're going to dig the soil clear down to the clay, that they're going to remove that. It's a huge process, but that will also ensure that they'll be able to tell if the clay has been breached, then that will be a concern for the waters. So they're going to just make sure everything is done every step of the way. And we're hoping that, the EPA and everybody works together to make sure that that's done. So if it's done correctly, I feel like we'll come back and we'll make it out of this just fine.
I almost felt sort of a sense of obligation to come and let people know in my small way that this place is thriving.
So if you came in from the north, you came down the hill, and as you come down the hill, you see the church steeple, and you come over the tracks and you come into town. It's quaint.
Sure.
And I bet you didn't sense there was anything going on when
Nothing.
you came in.
Nothing.
Other than
And I
the
might.
free water being passed out.
Well,
and
yeah,
some of the
but I
signs.
might add, going outside, I don't smell anything.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. I can't. I thought I might leave and say, yeah, I could smell something.
It flares up once in a while when they're digging certain things up.
Well, I don't smell it today.
I think it's calmed down a little bit, but yeah, there are definite days that are worse than others, but I don't know. I think most people, when they come in, they're like, we had no sense anything was wrong. You would have to go searching for it to go find it.
And you know what I find from the townspeople? It's not like immediately if it happened and I was here, I'd want to head for the hills and run for cover. But the people of East Palestine, they don't want to leave. They want to be here. You have a thriving business. You don't want to leave.
Right. And we have a lot of history here. Our family's
can tell.
been here for 200 years.
That's incredible.
We don't want to leave.
Where did your family come from?
I have a great grandfather that was in the Revolutionary War.
Wow.
And he got a land grant, and he sold it to his daughter, and they bought property in Worcester. And then he took the money and bought the land that is next to our farm. It was 100 acres. So he came here, I think it was about 1802, little log cabin, and they lived here. And then years later, one of his descendants married a Parker, and that is where the Parker farm came from. So yeah, there's a whole cemetery dedicated to him. And
so your roots are firmly entrenched
here. They're here.
You don't want to go?
No, we don't want to go. And my mom, her granddad, was it your granddad that worked at the paper factory?
My granddad ran the paper mill.
Yeah, there was a paper mill, which is now the blue business that's out by the Derailment. That's called Saran Fab. That used to be a paper mill, and
but
so
it was a paper mill.
Yeah, we all have ties here, and honestly, if somebody lives close to the Derailment, from what we're told, they're being assisted with some relocation assistance for now, and then they can make the decision, do we want to come back or not. But when it first happened, it was terrifying.
Of course.
I've never seen anything like it. It was a fireball. It was like flames were coming through the trees.
And you were ordered to evacuate.
Oh yeah, and we went back home that night because we could see from the top of our hill at the farm. It was massive. It looked like the whole town was on fire. And so we went home.
That's scary.
And about I don't know, was it even an hour? An hour later, sheriff's deputies and state highway patrol and police officers were going through the community evacuating people, and that was a little scary.
Sure.
So we left, and then we came back because we have a farm, we have cattle out there. We had to come back, and we stayed.
Are your cattle and farm animals okay?
Yeah. Animals are fine. I know a lot of people were spreading rumors on the internet. We have a dairy that's 15 minutes from here who has 800 dairy cows.
Oh my gosh.
And it was concerning for him
I
because
bet
he
it was.
leases some land to grow crops that are this way. And we had a farm meeting, and the EPA, the Department of Agriculture, the scientists from Ohio State, and veterinary board were there.
they've had cattle in this zone within the region that have gone for slaughter, and they've done testing, they've investigated, and they found no evidence of any contamination. We're concerned because some people are like, oh, I'm afraid to drink the milk now. You know, I'm afraid the cattle were breathing in some toxins, and then now my milk's contaminated.
Sure.
So they're really going above and beyond to try to, you know, work with those people to do rigorous testing and inspecting, and we're going through right now, they're collecting soil samples, testing for dioxins, testing for other contaminants, so that, you know, when they go to plant their crops for the spring and when they're going to go harvest alfalfa, you can have some sense of stability there. You know, we still have to get those answers, you know, because there was a direction that the majority of the ash and the plume went, so part of the farm.
Did that carry away with the prevailing westerly winds?
They believe
off toward Pennsylvania?
Southeast, it did go into Pennsylvania, definitely.
Sure. I mean, prevailing westerly winds are eventually going to carry it that way. You know, you'll get an occasional northeaster or something like that, but for the most part, winds go west to east.
Yeah. But when they did the controlled burn, we weren't quite sure what went on with that.
Well, that was vinyl chloride?
Vinyl chloride.
Whatever that
It was
is.
very scary. We watched that happen from a hotel room. In fact,
Did you go right to Google and say, what's vinyl chloride? I don't know what it is.
oh yeah, we went to, we
A
Googled it.
radiologist that I worked with happened to be talking to me from Rhode Island, and he proceeded to explain to Liz and I how dangerous
It is dangerous.
vinyl chloride.
It
He
can
said in
become
World War
what is called
I found
phosgene,
one,
and
I
it's a
think.
World War II element that they use for gassing people. So it can be very,
Seriously?
very toxic. Yeah.
Wow.
So that was the big concern. That's why everybody had to leave, and they had to do the controlled burn in a way that was, they poked holes in the
What do you think of the
containers.
controlled burn? Was that?
Well, here was what my opinion was. A lot of people were like, why couldn't they drain the tanks and put them in another tank? And here's what happened. There were safety valves on these, or there were safety measures that were installed in these containers that were failing. And the
Sure.
temperature was rising, and
They had to do something.
It was creating a scenario where they were going to explode.
Sure.
And if that happens, then they said that could send shrapnel up to a mile away.
And it's going to burn up anyway.
And you don't know where it's going to all go.
Yeah.
So I think this was their way of, it was going to be bad no matter what, but it was the best way.
This
they
was the
could
best
figure out
answer at the time.
at the time.
Yeah.
I think the biggest complaint for most people was they were pretty angry when they saw trains were running shortly after that, even before people were back in town.
Well, I tell you what, so I don't smell anything outside, and I must add that I've not smelled a better smell in a long time than inside this candle
thank
shop with
you.
all your
We like to
fragrant,
think it smells
smells, and it's wonderful. I love
Thank
it.
you.
I did buy a candle, by the way.
Thank you. I
It's not
appreciate
much,
that.
but
Thanks for supporting us.
I'm trying to help, and that's why I came. So
Listen, it's not that scary here. There is concern, and there needs to be
I'd
some
come back.
accountability, but we're not going to give up.
Yeah.
And we're going to get it cleaned up, and we're going to come back better than ever. That's my goal.
nice, super nice. That's the perfect attitude to carry going forward. I
Yeah.
commend you for it. And thank you so much for
You're
your time
welcome.
today. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
you. Yeah. What a cool business you have.
Thank you very
Making
much.
candles.
Thank you.
I love it. Yeah, I learned all about the farm you live on, the home built in 1820 from your daughter. You started the business in the home? Yeah.
Yeah, on the stove.
The
We've come a long way.
Well, the stove got a little bigger.
Yeah. We started doing events and shows and traveling with our candles, and then when the recession happened, I was working at General Motors.
The recession, you talking about the housing crunch?
2008, yeah.
Yeah.
I got laid off, and then I opened a little shop in here, and I was selling antiques and my own candles. And you know what sold was candles.
Yeah.
And so I decided, well, if I'm going to make a real business of it, I need to take it serious. So then I hired a professional designer to help me with doing some branding with a real logo, product development, and get a website started.
It takes a lot of
It
courage
does.
to start a business.
It's scary,
And-
it's
and
investment,
scary,
and
too.
it's money that there were
Sure.
no grants or loans
You're
for us.
chunking down your own money and thinking, gosh, I hope this works.
And then what we did is just organically grew, and then eventually we got picked up by West Elm Market and Anthropology at one point, where they bought some of our products to sell, and that was a big springboard. And then we started selling a lot of wholesale, so we sell our candles all over the country.
That's what your daughter was saying. Are you okay now? I mean, business is okay?
We're doing fairly well because of the fact that we really focused hard on having two really functional websites, one for our wholesale accounts, one for our retail business. and we've developed great business relationships with customers all over the country. And so when COVID happened, we were able to keep functioning because of that.
Online.
So we've learned how to, like, if you don't have foot traffic, we need to be able to survive. So we have the back end is.
So COVID ended up being a good thing for
Well,
you
it
because it taught you how to
taught
do
us
business
lessons.
online.
It did.
Which helped through
Right.
the train derailment.
Right. So I'm like, if I can make it through the recession, COVID, and this, nothing's taking me down
Yeah.
unless I get sick. And we're going to hope we don't.
I
right?
love that story. Oh, yeah, I'm praying for you
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that story.
Thank you.
It takes a lot of courage to start a business and make it go and thrive. And what's cool is that I know you have customers all over the country, essentially, and everybody knows what happened here. And those people that do business with you, they want to help. They want to
They
do
do.
more business.
They do. And I'll be honest, we even received a letter in the mail from a woman from New York who heard about us somehow. And she sent us a handwritten note and said, pick me out 2 candles and the rest of the money put towards something that's important, for the community or whatever. And so people are just reaching out and trying to be supportive.
Sure.
To you, to our community. We had a
And
shop in
ironically, I
Brooklyn.
hear that train coming in the
Oh,
background.
I know. The trains coming. They come
All day
quite
long.
all day long.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we had a Brooklyn business who's been carrying our candles for as long as we've been doing wholesale. They raised $1,200 with their customers to send us to donate to a charity. He told us personally, he goes, I am giving you my word, we're not leaving until it's done right. So, and we're holding to it. But
And nobody knows what the definition of done right is
Well,
yet, because
true,
we need
that's true.
we need 10 years to see. Did Senator Vance, he didn't pop his head in, did he?
no,
Because he's been here several times.
One of his staff members did come in. She was lovely. And then we've met with Senator Brown. And what I like about him is he's come to town with a real bipartisan approach. And I liked that because I don't like the politicization of our area. I don't like
Which
people
is so easy to
pitting
do.
each other against each other. I'm not
Sure.
into that. I want them to be working
Or we
for
can point
us.
fingers all day long, but
Right.
how
I
are we
want
gonna,
them
what are we
work
going to do now?
together for us.
Yeah.
Not be, I'm trying to do this because I think it's going to
Help my next
advance
election.
me for my next, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
want any of that. I don't think most people do.
Yeah.
But I do know that Senator Brown and Vance are working together on a Rail Safety Act legislation that they're putting together and proposing. So I do see that they're doing some things together, and I think
That's
that's
awesome.
Good. Yeah,
Awesome.
it's good.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. We're all working together. We're trying.
That's how it's got to be. That's what's going to make it work going forward. Yeah, just like the Amish. Yeah. Did you make banana cream pie like the Amish?
We did not, but I wouldn't turn one down.
Oh, no, heck no. Well, I'm so grateful for your
Okay.
time today because I was worried coming in. I wanted to visit this place because I'm not too far away.
Okay.
And I didn't know if anybody would even talk to me, because of what happened. But so I'm
I know. And there
extra
are
grateful
people-
for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate you